Hi, I'm Phil. Welcome to Pretty Good Cooking.
Pretty good.
Tonight on the show, we're going to show you something a little bit different from what we typically do. A lot of times when I have like a non-dinner related cooking project, such as we're doing today, where we're making some goodies for some of our supporters, I will also cook dinner, but it's separate from like a typical PGC recipe, where many times I am making something for the first time, or I'm doing like a larger project. What we'll be documenting today is more akin to a weeknight type dinner, which I will describe today as like a lo mein stir fry, fairly improvised. So this is much more akin to what I actually eat like on a weeknight, where I'm using whatever ingredients I have on hand to kind of make something in the realm of something that sounds good to me rather than a formal recipe. Why are we eating this tonight? I have some lo mein noodles that I previously enjoyed. They're fresh noodles, and I gotta use them up. You can see today I'm sporting my vintage 86 apron, which you can find on Instagram and other platforms, which is a cool apron that makes me feel cool. I am wearing it because stir fries are very messy. And you know, as you like stir fry at high heat, it's gonna splatter on you. If you value your clothes, get an apron. If you're gonna wear an apron, get a cool one, like vintage 86. Okay, so let's start with a little bit of meats and plats. We'll start with a pot of water. These fresh lo mein noodles, I find it's best to boil them first and then stir fry them. So we'll cook them a little bit and then finish them in the pan. I kind of have a lot of lo mein noodles left. I'm not totally sure that we'll use them all, but at the old store, there's no way to buy anything less than a very large amount of them. So we'll get this going, and we'll salt that water as if we're making spaghetti. And while that's heating up, we'll start working on vegetables. Ginger is a wonderful addition to any stir fry. And for once, I have some ginger that does not look like complete trash. So I'm mincing up that ginger out of my lazy mince. And we will also get some garlic going. This is a sprouted garlic, which means it's a little bit old. But, you know, if you're watching PGC, odds are you're also a little bit old. So 3 cloves of garlic today, and we will similarly chop that, and all of that will go to the side of the cutting board because we'll be cooking it together. For vegetables, I think you can use a variety. I kind of do a kitchen sink version frequently when I'm making lo mein or stir fry or anything like that. It's kind of like whatever do I have on hand. We may add some broccoli, but I think what I really want is a broccoli stems. Nice thing to include, which we will do our best to chop up into small pieces. Remember that the smaller you chop things, the faster they will cook. And so this will just be like basically using what many people consider to be like a garbage part of the broccoli. It's actually a very nice part of the broccoli. So that'll be a nice addition. I have some red onion. We'll just slice it. You know, red onion is not typically in one of these types of dishes. Probably would see white or yellow onion, but it's the onion that I have available to me right now. Celery is a fun addition to stir-fried type dishes. You will see it frequently featured in like Chinese American stir-fries. It's totally optional. If you want it, include it. If you don't. But I think it'll add like a nice crisp and coolness to our meal today, which you can see I'm slicing on a bias or a bisect. And then my all-time favorite for anything like this is cabbage. The cabbage is good. The cabbage is nourishing. The cabbage is delicious. And it belongs in your stir fry and every stir fry, in my opinion. And you can do chunks, slices, you know, your preferred cuts. Plenty o' cabbage. I have pre-shredded carrots. I always keep these around. They're so good in just about everything. I don't even have to chop them. God bless. And finally, our last vegetable will be green onions. What we will do is we will finely mince the white parts. Actually, not that finely, but you know, just well. And then we'll save the green parts as a garnish for later. Now our water is simmering over here, so we can go ahead and pop our noodles in. I'm just gonna go ahead and throw everything I have left in there. We may not actually have room for all these noodles. And we will mix those in there. And I should have heated up the pan a while ago, but we'll go ahead and get the pan heated. And we will stir fry in vegetable oil today. And the only thing left to really think about is what kind of protein do we want in here. I have some tofu we could use. Eggs would be good, shrimp would be good, but I also just have some chicken that I roasted yesterday. So I'm probably just gonna use chicken. We are almost certainly going to use soy sauce. Wow, so bold, so brave. Incredible flavor, it's never been used before. But typically in this kind of dish, I like to use some soy sauce, some sesame oil, some oyster sauce. That's really good on lo mein. And then typically I'll use either sake or like a vinegar, like a rice vinegar or even like a Chinese vinegar. Now, I'm no expert in these fresh noodles, but the last time that I made a dish similar to this, I did boil them for a few minutes and then stir fried them, and they were still kind of chewy. So I'm gonna kind of err on the side of letting those go a little bit longer this time. Now our oil's popping, so we can go ahead and put pretty much all our veggies in. Our goal here is to start to get just like a little bit of color, start the cooking process on the veggies. And while those are all going, I'll go ahead and grab the chicken. This is just one chicken breast, but I think it should be sufficient for our meal because there are so many other things. And this is already cooked. You know, certainly you could use a fresh protein that has not been cooked already, but the whole idea here, you know, why we're making this at all is to kind of use up leftovers and make a pretty tasty food with what we have on hand. I'll go ahead and get those scallions cut up as well. If you want to be very fancy, I feel like the more vertical you orient the cut on these greens, the fancier the end dish looks. So just really get vertical with them. And that's what we're ended up with, which of course, you know, I did a pretty mediocre job of. Let's toss things around in the pan, we'll stir our noodles, and it's at this point we can start seasoning this. I've used different methods for this over the years when throwing it together. Sometimes I'll mix everything up and then put it in, but if you're really, you know, feeling it, such as I am, just throw it in the pan. It'll be totally fine. There's our soy sauce. Just gonna finish the bottle. Sesame oil, just a drizzle. Love my grandma's oyster sauce. Got a nice lady on it. And we'll hit it with some sake as well. And you can mix everything together, like so. If you like some sweetness, you could add some honey or a sweetener of your choosing. I'm not that into it, so I tend to avoid it. These noodles over here, you can see, are starting to look a little different. Like the rawness has been cooked, so I'll go ahead and cut the heat there. And I'll go ahead and pop in our chicken. It's already looking pretty nice. So where do we go from here? Ultimately, we need to get the noodles into this pan, and the pan will be quite full. But that's okay. Often what I do in this kind of like thrown together stir fry is I'll start adding in the noodles kind of like so. And if it needs more kind of like sauce or like something to kind of like carry the flavor to the noodles, what I'll do is just add a little bit more soy sauce. But I think we might actually be able to get all these noodles in there. Oh yeah, lo mein for days. This time I went for the non-sodium reduced soy sauce. So I knew I was gonna use up that bottle. Let's hit it with a little bit more salt. Oh man, it's heavy. So I'm gonna continue to stir fry that on high heat. All right, at this point, it's pretty much done. Now in an ideal world, you would really stir fry the noodles and get like some nice browning on most of them. I have completely overcrowded this pan. It's just way too many noodles, but I knew what was gonna happen. But when you start seeing some caramelization such as this, that's a clue that you're getting close to where you wanna be. So this is done, that's it. Well, I mean, you can take your fresh green onions and kind of mix them in here at the end, or you can save them as a garnish at the absolute end. I think that it tastes better if you mix these in with the pan and let them wilt just a little bit. So you just don't have a big hunk of raw onion. And what could be easier for like just a super fast thrown together dinner made up entirely of vegetable scraps and leftovers? You know, a very balanced meal of mostly noodles. But you know, most places, like most Chinese American restaurants, when you get them, they look just like this. It's like 90% noodles, because noodles are cheap. And there we have it. So this is probably too hot to actually eat, but I'm willing to burn my mouth for you. It tastes great. I just wish we used less noodles, because this actually can be very healthy if you just use mostly vegetables instead of noodles. The fresh noodles are wonderful. I actually cooked them enough this time so they're not too chewy, but it's wonderful. Umami, fresh, easy, delicious. I eat this all the time, this kind of thing. And I think you should too. You know, if you're like at the Asian market or international market, you see fresh noodles, get them, because it's like the perfect canvas to throw a quick meal together that is really, really good. Hope you enjoyed this quick, weird episode thrown together. That's how you do it. Happy cooking. And we'll see you next time on PGC. It's like the second out of third time I'm gonna say that tonight. Bye-bye.